right, cool. Hello, 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 hello. Sweet. Nice to see you all. Hope you're all doing well, per usual. Um, so today we're gonna get into some more like skill training. And I just wanted to take the time to sort of put context to all these different exercises. So Mondays are really sort of like exercises that I hope you memorize, or maybe you jot down, or the ones that stick with you, so that over the course of your practice, which is really a practice that lasts a lifetime, we'll have these sort of like peaks of like intense focus or increased exploration of what meditation is and how to develop our ability, and then it'll sort of taper off. Life will be good. Usually when life is good and we're preoccupied with relationships or career and things are moving smoothly, the mind, naturally, there's no danger, there's no issue. So the mind's like, well, I don't have to manage the situation so much. It seems to be managing itself. And so there's points naturally where the intensity in which we are drawn to practice fades away. And then something will happen, our curiosity will spike again, or an experience of suffering will emerge. And it's like, oh, there's a little bit more chaos in my situation, in my being, in my environment. Let me go back to my practice. And so that cycling between chaos and order, between goodness and sort of error, we can say, we'll go through that many times in our lives. And that cycling is in itself called samsara. In Buddhism, to Buddha, samsara equated specifically with the experience of suffering that arises through these cycles when we are unconscious of those cycles. And so in Buddhism, samsara is equated to suffering and stress. But to yogis and like to the philosophers of ancient India, samsara was more cosmological. It was about just cycles in general, that life in itself, reality in itself, moves cyclically. And when we are aware of cycles, whether it's like farmers aware of like the seasons, or astrologers aware of the orbiting stars and planets, or human beings aware of their own patterns, as we become more aware of our cycles and cycles in general, we gain power, right? We can predict where things are going and when things will come back. And in that ability to predict our situation, our minds are satisfied, because our minds do not like chaos and not knowing things. And so we induce our sense of peace and a sense of stability and sense of confidence and courage, all of this, because we are aware of life's cyclical nature, aware of samsara. So in regards to like that ebb and flow of your meditation practice, Mondays are really about understanding certain exercises so that you can put in your back pocket. And when you want to sharpen your skills, it's like, okay, let me practice counting for the next week, or let me practice interval meditation for the next week. This will just empower the skill set. And what is the skill set? The skill set is pretty much focus. Can you keep your mind on one place, one tiny little thing, without it wandering away? So this is one of the main skill sets. And then physical sensitivity. How well can I actually feel? You can use any of your senses, but again, feeling physically, the body seems to be the most embodying sense we have. How well can I actually feel my body? Physical sensitivity. And these two skills, focus and physical sensitivity, come together and allow us as meditators to internalize our attention deeper and deeper and deeper into ourselves, so that we can touch this mystical, hyper-philosophical idea of presence, which is the immediate reality and happenings of my center line. Cool? So what we're going to do today, this is like maybe a month and a half. So, a lot of you have been here since we started, or started pretty much at that point. And so, the role of a teacher is to eventually disappear, right? And so my ambition through all of this is to give you enough understanding and confidence with what you're doing, so that you take it for yourself and explore on your own. And so in that, for me, the true teachers have always been stillness and silence. And if you can just sort of kiss the feet of stillness and silence, your practice will be as powerful as it could possibly be, whether under the guidance of anyone. Stillness and silence are the main things to focus upon. So what we're going to do today, sort of playing with samsara and honoring this idea that the real teachers are stillness and silence, I'm not really going to say anything at all today. I'll come in at the very end and say that the class or the meditation is over. But what I'd like you to pay attention to, the way I usually run this exercise is, I'll meditate for an indefinite amount of time. And the way I will sort of understand when my meditation is over is after I've experienced 3 rounds of samsara. And that would be a cycle of interest, and it moves into a cycle of disinterest, right? So it's like, I love meditating. I want to meditate. I'm so happy to meditate. And then 5 minutes in, you're like, okay, I think I'm done meditating. I'm bored with this. I'm impatient. I have other things to do. And so that's one cycle. And if you survive that cycle, you'll realize on your own that that disinterest, right, like the sun moving across the sky, will fade away and turn into interest again. So all of a sudden, you just, you stuck to your guns, and then lo and behold, now you are interested in the practice yet again. Now you're 10 minutes in, and it's like, oh, wait, yeah, I want to keep meditating. I love this. I just forgot for a moment how intriguing or provoking or satisfying this is. And then you'll be good for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, 15 minutes in, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of this yet again. You stick to your guns, and that will fade away by itself, and interest will reemerge. And so after 3 rounds of that, always ending on a positive note, and when you're actually into your meditation, you open your eyes, you're super refreshed. That's how I play with this practice or this exercise. And it really builds patience and tolerance and allows us to see samsara, that our state of being, our emotional state, our pretty much our emotional state, but focus and distraction as well, which is more technical, they just ebb and flow between poles. I'm good one moment, I'm not good another moment. I'm happy today, I'm going to be a little less happy tomorrow. Nothing really changed in my reality, but my mood sort of like rises and falls with the tides. And we don't have to do anything. The more we observe that reality, the more power we have, at least in tolerating it and not being so affected by, the natural environment, which again is cyclical, and that is samsara. And so we can call this like a samsara technique. Okay, awesome, sweet. So happy you all are here. Let's get into this. Samsara, Samsara, a super powerful concept to understand and to perceive in the myriad of ways it expresses itself in our lives. Alrighty, so let's get into a comfortable seated position. Cool. And so we are habitual beings. And to empower your experience of your practice, it's nice to create little rituals. And I think a really nice ritual is just taking the time at the beginning of your practice to commit a few breaths to one of these 4 fundamentals. First, commit to your stillness, feel what that's like. Then build your posture a little bit, tilt your hips forward, lift through the chest, super duper straight arms, random fingers to each thumb. And then give yourself to feel your breath, design that, expand upon your lung capacity. And then start to push the mind back. So you're creating this boundary between you and the world. Your body is part of the world. It's out there. Your thought process is also part of the world. It's out there. So this is the last thing I'm going to say. Stillness and silence are the most powerful meditative teachers. Period. Everything else, every teacher, every philosophy, every course is a stepping stone to get you to understand the value and wisdom of not moving, not talking, and eventually not thinking. Stillness and silence will pull you into yourself, into an inner wilderness. And in that wilderness, you will come across patterns, emotions, memories, sensations. What I'd like you to keep your eye out for is samsara, cyclical nature, specifically in relationship to your practice. You'll move through a zone of appreciation, curiosity, interest, and optimism. And then out of nowhere, that'll shift, and you will become disinterested, bored, reactive, aggravated, and pessimistic. And if you stick to your guns, and you stay committed to stillness and silence and non-reactivity, that pessimism will naturally and miraculously and predictably turn back into optimism. And just experiencing that is a liberating moment, because we realize our moods are not our own. They, like everything else, are anchored in samsara, the orbiting nature of existence. And our job as meditators is to just be more and more aware of how deep samsara, cyclical nature, penetrates our being. Okay, I'm going to chime in about 20 minutes. Let's take a deep, steady breath in together. Hyper patient exhale, very, very slow. Slow down your breath. "15 minutes might not be long enough for you to get from a zone of optimism to pessimism, but try to sense it, the fluctuations. The mystical ambition of the yogis was to obliterate the wheel of dharma, that the universe itself, even the gods, are fixed to the cycling of purpose, and in that, the cycle of success and failure, the cycle of striving, and the cycle of rebirth. The goal of yoga, which leads us to meditation, is to end the cycling. What is that literally? It would represent itself as your ability to stay fixed in optimism, to stay fixed in openness, to not be pushed or pulled by the changing environment of your minds. And so if we can project that into something practical, it means the more able we are to stay focused on openness and not get swayed by our thought process while meditating, and only you're the judge of that, the more capable we will become at being ourselves and living our lives. And in that, the experience of bliss, ananda, would emerge because we've harnessed chit, our consciousness, to touch a deeper truth, sat, that within the cycles there is an epicenter of true stillness, unchanging experience. Truth, if anything, is the unchanging law. And so that adds this layer of poetic depth to our process. So just take a couple moments and try to sense that that is the game you're playing. And while it may be impossible, playing this game with life, which is in the end a benevolent force, it's just an intriguing game to play. So stay in your meditation, but mentally, psychologically, end the exercise of samsara, and let's just come back to our 4 fundamental techniques and see if we can communicate to them in a deeper sense. Stillness. What is the consequence, and in that the lesson of your stillness? That you have control. Stillness empowers the experience of yourself. Through stillness, you reject the environment and the life that you create in that environment, and through your control, start to commit to yourself. Because life innately pulls us away from ourselves. So feel that. That is stillness. And then feel your posture. Maybe adjust it slightly. Tilt the hips forward, lift through the chest, straighten the arms, shut the jaw. Your posture very simply says that this self you are learning to control and recognize is powerful. And so this is the lesson of Shakti. And then comes your breath. Your breath innately reminds you of your existence. It innately reminds you of mortality. But at the same time, it reminds us of peace, tranquility, and euphoria. So meditation is about learning to restrain ourselves, to sense ourselves. Feel that now. And as we do, we are reminded of our power through posture and through our mortality, our fleetingness, and our peace through breath. And then the big one, as you push back the mind, what happens? You generate a sense of solitude and aloneness. And the epiphany we're forced to confront is that we do not know ourselves, and we don't really spend much time with ourselves. And as you sink into this aloneness, what emerges is sincerity. It's a heart-to-heart with our own being. And so with all of that, bring your hands mindfully to heart center. And hopefully through that little breakdown, we can appreciate that meditation is the practice of self. It is generating the epiphany of our own existence, something we think we know, but we do not. And when we preoccupy ourselves with our own existence, the drama of the ego's failure or success, our life's trajectory going according to plan or not, fades away. We realize that was only the gimmick, a distraction that pulls most people away from the prize, which is their own existence, the sacredness of their own being. Slow down your breaths. The more you can feel that suggests that you are making your way to the eye of samsara, right? The eye of the storm. You become immune to your own doubt, immune to the shifting tides. Bring your thumb knuckles to third eye center. Nice tall chest. But this is skill-based. Not everyone can climb a mountain. You need to learn how to climb a mountain. These skills are physical sensitivity and mental focus. Focus so much on the thumb knuckles pressing the skin of your forehead as usual. Look deeper into that little prick of sensation and just feel without thinking. Notice the rip current of samsara, cyclical thought, is tugging at your heels. Deepen your focus, one more breath in. One more breath out. Release your wrists to your knees, nice tall spine. And just honor the teacher's stillness and silence. As you open your eyes, I'm no longer meditating. This state of mind is called Jagrat. All right, good work, everybody. Hope that, taught you something, simplified a lot, empowered a lot. But time in meditation helps, as always. It doesn't mean you have to do it now, but again, we'll move through cycles. Once we get a sense of the sense that we ourselves are a practice, that we ourselves are something to explore in the same way that, usually as we get older, we realize we're not going to be on Earth forever. It's like, oh, maybe I do want to go to Chile, or I do want to go to Thailand because I'm not going to be here long enough to actually see all that. Once you get a sense of meditation, it's like, oh, maybe I should actually look into myself because I'm not going to exist forever, and the opportunity to know myself is not going to last forever. So once you get a sense, which you all have a sense, you're participating, it might come and go at different chapters, different decades, but it will reemerge, and now you have a great understanding of how to actually do this. And the philosophies really help, but stillness and silence are the main teachers. In regards to samsara, it's like that's what we're all trying to do when we break our patterns. This is the struggle. If you're in like a strict quarantine state, it's like you're just cycling, right? Your apartment, your living room, like it's the same thing. And you're becoming more and more and more conscious of this tight cycling. And it leads to a sense of distress. So usually when we become aware of our cycles, it distresses us. And in that distress, we are compelled to break them. Yogis are trying to break the cycles of samsara, break their unconscious patterns, break their habits, but philosophically break the tendency of the wandering mind. That's what generates all of this. And when we can hold our minds in perfect focus, the yogis say you have achieved the great achievement of sort of what a human being can do. And in that, the more time we spend in hyper focus, life itself seems to organize in these new and brilliant ways.